Welcome back, everyone. Thursday, the 19th of February, 2026. And you know what? If I'm not always in the mood to do a live stream, whenever I hear that intro, that music, by the time the countdown's finished, I am ready to go now this evening. For now, at least, it's going to be just me and you. Later on in the show, I'm going to be inviting you, my wonderful audience, patriots around the world, onto the show to have your say. We've got so much to talk about this evening. You're already piling into the room. The comments are steaming in as I speak. And look, boys and girls, what do we want to talk about tonight? Tommy is in America at last. Prince Andrew, misconduct in public office. Connor Thomason interview that most of you will have seen by now. I was on Talk TV today with Ian Collins. There are a number of very well-informed reform rumours doing the rounds. I'm going to run those past you as well. We've got Jeremy Clarkson potentially joining Restore. We've got the death penalty. We've got deportations. We've got the message that I'm trying to put out at the moment is a conciliatory message. I'm trying to get people together, working desperately hard on that. We've got Nigel Farage's admission that basically he was lying all along about Rupert Lowe, and he's just the sort of man that you could trust to be our Prime Minister, let alone trust to deliver his many, many promises. As I say, we've got so much to talk about this evening, but I think in all fairness, first of all, as it is, I was going to say Prince Andrew, but it's now Andrew Windsor or Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. This is fresh off the press. This was Prince Andrew before and after he realised that the birthday stripper was really a policewoman. You got to laugh, otherwise you cry, right? Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Oh my goodness, what an entire mess. The Queen would be turning in her grave. And a question I've got for you guys tonight, which you may want to answer in the chat or come on the show a little bit later on and tell me what you think is it time for Charles, especially as in such ill health, to step aside, give the royal family a clean run at things and let William take over, William and Kate? And what hopes do you have for William and Kate potentially as our future king and queen? Do you trust William to remember where he came from and remember the history of his nation and the great people of his nation? Or is he going to be woke William? I'm not so sure. I don't know yet. I haven't quite decided. I've got a horrible feeling it might be the latter, but you never know. You never know, because you don't know what inner thoughts he has, and he's keeping to himself all the time. He is a mere prince. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to the wonderful Claire Bear, one of my mods who is always doing her best for us. Thank you so much. Good evening, Mr. Tunnicliffe. Good evening, Kitty Cats. I can see you all in the chat. Obviously, can't read them all out, but I'll be keeping my eye on them. I've got them up on the chat, on the screen. My cat is asking, where is Richard? Now, I did speak to Uncle Richard earlier, and he had promised his lovely wife that he was going to have a few days off. But I think the main reason is he's got a bit of man flu, and he's feeling very sorry for himself. And he wanted to go on tonight, but said, you know what, Paul, I'm going to keep my word. So you're stuck with me this evening. But basically, I've got to admit, I kind of quite enjoy the nights when it's just me and you. Get some of you guys up on screen. Tonight, I'm probably just going to play your voices because not everyone likes to show themselves on screen, but we will carry on as usual. Don't forget to hit the like button as I waffle away as we wait for the room to populate. Just under 1,000 people in already. Good evening, Cremaster. Nice to see you there. Kathy, hello from Malta. Lots of Brits out and about in Benidorm today. Good to see you on Talk TV this afternoon. Thank you very much, David. I will play that clip a little bit later on. I've got to tell you, I don't mind doing social media. I'm quite comfortable with that. I'm quite comfortable with talking to a couple of thousand people or so on screen. I'm okay with that. But getting a call from Ben Habib this morning and asking if I would be kind enough to stand in for him on Talk TV this afternoon. Well, I kind of got to tell you something, boys and girls, that puts a bit of pressure on you. Appearing on Talk TV is one thing, but when you're standing in for the leader of a political party, I've got to tell you, the nerves were racking a little bit, and it's not as easy as it sounds. I'll tell you why, because you don't always really get to follow. You're in the green room, and you don't always get to follow the complete storyline of what's going before you. I was the last guest of the three. I followed Charlie Downs. So it was quite a tough moment for me. I hope I gave a reasonable account of myself, but never pretended to be a politician or a professional commentator, just a granddad that's a YouTuber. We'll play that clip a little bit later on. There's been so many interesting things been taking place over the last few days. You know, the media are trying to frame this as a war of the right, if you like. I consider it to be nothing like that. I think it's part of my thoughts were outlined in the interview with Ian Collins earlier on. I think Ian wanted to know, you know, we didn't get too long, about 5 minutes. Ian wanted to know what the college was all about. I didn't really get too much chance to elaborate on that. But the main thing was, you know, what is the difference between restore and advance? And you'll see my answer to that in a little while. I'll play that on screen. I tell you what, let's get through that now. People, we got, where are we? We'll give it a couple more minutes. We've got 1,150 people watching. Let's have a little chat about Tommy for a moment. Now, yesterday, about, when was it? I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock in the evening, I got a phone call telling me that Tommy was on his way to America and that it was going to be a surprise when we all woke up this morning. So it was nice to, you know, nice to be respected enough to be given a heads up that that was coming. I appreciated that very much. One of my lights is flickering. You can stop that. But yes, I mean, look, this is the first time that Tommy's been allowed into America for a very, very, very long time, many years, in fact. And it obviously is going to open up a lot of new doors for him. We all know the situation with him having these threats. This light is going to actually drive me mad unless I get it fixed. Let me just see if I can see if it turning it on and off might fix it. So yeah, I mean, he's going to be spending a fair bit of time out there. Don't know how long. I wish him good luck. Who knows? He may even end up staying out there. And frankly, I wouldn't blame him. I wouldn't blame him one little bit. Because he has been a man that has been, let's be honest, whether you like him, whether you don't, it doesn't matter what you think of Tommy, you'd have to admit that he has been treated as the bogeyman by the establishment for a very long time now, serving a number of prison sentences unfairly, in my humble opinion. And the bottom line is that with the way the country is going right now, and with the emergence of restore and advance, and the rhetoric, at least, that Reform have been putting out, and I don't believe their rhetoric for one moment. Looking at the situation, not only has he been proven right over the years, in fact, you could say he could be proven as being prophetic. Everything he has said pretty much has come true. And there are a lot of people out there that simply don't like that. And they will never, ever admit it. And that is a fact. As I say, whether they like him or not doesn't really matter. Olivia, oi, it's all kicking off on YouTube. Where to start? Anything in particular there? Best Black, how are you? Are you back in the chat? We was all a bit worried about you the other night. Taxi driver, jail time for AM Windsor. Wouldn't that be a turn up, eh? Wouldn't that be a turn up? Carol, enjoyed your interview with Conor Tomlinson today. Yeah, that was another difficult interview for me in many respects because, look, as I've said all along, I'm more interested in being conciliatory rather than going on the offensive. Going on the offensive is very easy. It's a cheap way of getting clicks. It's a cheap, easy way of getting views. You know, you run the fancy headline and you deliberately throw in the kind of got your questions that I've never appreciated myself. In fact, I always offer my guests a basic list of the questions that I intend to ask ahead of me asking them. And I tell you why I do that, because I think you get a more honest answer from someone when you give them a chance to think about it. If you give them questions that you know they're going to find difficult to answer on the spot, you don't always get to really see what's inside their mind or what's in their heart. As it happens, to his credit, Conor turned that opportunity down and said, no, fire away. And that's what we did. So I hope you enjoyed that. And if you haven't seen it already, please do so. Guys, let me know what you think in the chat. Should Andrew, the former Prince Andrew, should he be going to prison if found guilty of misconduct in public office? And I can think of a few people right now who shall remain nameless for the moment. I can think of a few people in high positions of power who are almost certainly guilty of misconduct in public office. And we can only hope, keep our fingers crossed and wait with patience that our day will come and we will see those people in front of a judge. Kenny, thank you very much, Kenny. I'm a royalist, monarchist, but when William sits with the elite at the WEF is a bit of a red flag for me. I mean, look, Kenny, I would agree with that. The thing is, I think what we have to understand is that, well, to people like me at least, William is still a young man. He's still learning. And he will continue to learn his trade. And let's be honest, being the King of England is in some respects a trade, right? You've got a hell of a job in front of you and a hell of a task. You have to keep a lot of people happy. You have to toe certain lines. And you, more often than not, have to be seen, at least, to be doing the right thing. I don't think we'll see the real William until he is actually the king. When he's the king and all the shackles are potentially off, and that could mean, as Dan Wootton was saying earlier, by offing the likes of Beatrice and, well, all the other hangers-on around the main part of the royal family. I mean, if he can get rid of those people and strip them of their titles and basically get back to basics, maybe it could all tie in with a new government. Who knows? Who knows? William could be king in a very short space of time. He could be king in a month. We don't know. And who knows? He might think that now's the time. Calls Weird Starmer into the palace and says, enough. who knows? We can only hope. But look, the way things are going, I mean, who would have believed, you know, a few years back that we would be in a situation that we're in today? Who would ever have believed it, that you would see the police going to a royal residence and arresting a prince? Would you believe that? Because I wouldn't. But things are happening. Times are changing. Got some big rumours coming out of reform that we'll get onto a little later on. Let me know what you think about Andrew. Should he potentially go to jail for his alleged crimes? Or I say alleged crimes, they're not even really alleged at the moment, are we? We don't exactly know what they are. Andrew's arrest was 100% on Starmer's orders. Well, you know what, Blitz, that's actually a very good point, because it's a great distraction, isn't it? It's a great distraction from everything else that is going on. And it does kind of make me wonder, you know, I'm not excusing anything that Andrew's done or not done, because let's be honest, none of us know. We got a clue, right? But there's no, you know, nothing has been proven as such yet, not that I've seen. It's funny that we can arrest the former prince, but we can't arrest paedophiles from Bradford. Make it that whatever you will, I don't know. But it's a great distraction for Starmer. He must be rubbing his hands with glee, because it takes the heat off of him, doesn't it? Yep. Tina, yes, time for Charles to hand it over to William. I mean, look, he can't be any worse, can he? Charles will never abdicate. He's too full of himself. Do you know what, Graham? I would have gone along with that. But I think what's happened with Andrew, and let's get it right, Andrew is his brother. And I believe Andrew was considered to be the favourite son of the Queen. If Charles has had any knowledge of this cover-up, and there's a danger of this getting out or being made public, they will probably use his illness as an excuse for him to stand down. Val says, I think William will be better. We can live in hope, I guess. Guys, I will be inviting you onto the show later on to have your say. You can talk about Tommy being in America. You can come on and talk about Prince Andrew. I keep referring to him as Prince Andrew. Of course, he's no longer a prince. If anyone's got anything to say about the Conor Tomlinson interview I did, you're welcome. Jeremy Clarkson, of course. There's talk of Jeremy Clarkson joining forces with Rupert Lowe. Do you think that would be a good idea? And I also want to talk about a couple of the policies of Restore that have drawn a little bit of criticism. One is the death penalty, and the other is mass deportations. Now, Nigel's admission a day or two ago that the reason they got rid of Rupert Lowe was because of the term mass deportations. And that's a different story, isn't it, to the one that we were told when Rupert Lowe was actually ousted from Reform. The police were called, you know, we all know the story. And to me, that almost sounded like Nigel admitting that, well, really, all that was a load of bullshit and that they just wanted him out because he was a bit too extreme for them. And he wasn't towing the party line and, you know, saying the things that Nigel wanted him to say. But that would make him a liar, wouldn't it? So is that a man that we could trust, not only as Prime Minister, but more importantly, is it a man that we could trust to deliver what he says he's going to deliver? And quite honestly, I'm still not exactly sure even what he's saying he's going to deliver, especially when it comes to deportations. Maybe I've missed something. I don't know. Rupert has been quite clear about his idea of who needs to go from this country. I believe that him and Ben Habib are very much on the same song sheet. Not sure on Ben's stance on the death penalty. For what it's worth, I'll give you mine. I always used to be a staunch believer in capital punishment. But as I've got older and I've seen the amount of miscarriages of justice that happen, when I see innocent people going to jail, found guilty by judges, in my opinion, I'd hesitate to use the word corrupt judges, but some of you may choose to use that word, as strong a word as that. When I see some of the sentences dished out by judges and the decisions that have come to in a court of law, especially now we have sectarian issues within the jury system as well, I would personally be in favour of capital punishment for certain crimes. Certainly for crimes against children. I won't name them, but I'm pretty sure you can guess what they are. Crimes against children, crimes against women, and those crimes would have to be scientifically beyond all doubt, beyond any doubt. And I'll give you quite happily a couple of examples. Ian Huntley, there's one. He would have definitely qualified for the death penalty as far as I'm concerned. The killers of Lee Rigby, again, guilty without any shadow of a doubt. There's no evidence going to come to the fore in the future that proves those guys innocent. Guilty as sin, gallows. That'd do me. The world would be a better place without these absolute morons. But when it comes to just dishing out a death penalty for murder, often when there's not as much evidence as you might like to have, I'm a bit touchy about that one, because there's no freedom given posthumously, is there? You know, you can't have your freedom back posthumously. So the death penalty, let me know what you think on that one. Yeah, I was watching that before I came on, Mandy. Great interview tonight with Ben Habib on Liam Tufts. Anyone that watched that will see what Ben is all about. What is there not to like? Let's have a little look at my appearance on Talk TV this afternoon. As I say, it was a bit rushed and I was a stand-in, but here we go.
Charlie, great to have you on as ever. Very thorough stuff from Charlie Downs, campaign director with Restore Britain. Let's speak with Paul Thorpe, who's a college member with Advance UK. Nice to have you with us, Paul. I mean, you've heard from Reform UK there and also Restore Britain. Where does Advance UK, sort of in a nutshell, as it were, where do you sit in this wider picture of this fallout or this battle for the right?
Well, I think the frustrating thing from my point of view sitting here today and listening to Charlie is very similar to where Charlie and Restore sit. I think there's a very little difference between the two parties. In fact, Advance was initially set up by our leader, Ben Habib, with Rupert Lowe in mind as its leader. And if I'm honest, I don't speak for the party now. I can speak for me personally when I say I'm still a little bit disappointed that Rupert didn't reach out to Ben and manage to come together. So essentially, I think the difference between the two parties is very small, very slim. And I think and I hope down the line there will be some kind of amalgamation, because what we are certainly different from is Reform, you know, the party that promised everything and quite frankly is delivering nothing to solve the problems that this country quite clearly faces.
I mean, in fairness, they're not in power yet.
No, but it's looking very likely that they stand a good chance they will be, and that is, what are we going to be left with? This, Ian, this is our last chance. There is no other chance. This is our last chance.
So, Advance UK need to merge with Restore Britain. Is that broadly the message, Paul?
That's my personal belief. I mean, look, I think it's very clear now to the people of the UK that we need a Churchillian style leader. We're very blessed right now. We have two in Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe, and I think they're stronger together. I think party members from both parties would probably agree with me on that point, and together they can kickstart the long overdue process of genuinely unifying the right so that we can give the country a credible solution.
And of course that was the badge that Nigel Farage has been wearing for probably decades, not years.
Well, he's been wearing it, Ian, but sadly since you know, he's been taking on outcasts from any party that you wish to mention. He's really gone back on most of that, hasn't he? I mean, Nigel Farage is the man that had it all and blew it. And he's blown it spectacularly. I mean, Richard Tice probably started the process when he described, you know, half of working class Britain as that lot. That is not going to win votes in. They need that lot. We all need that lot, because that lot are the backbone of this country, the white working class that have fought and died and built this country over centuries. You cannot describe the working class as that lot.
I don't recall Mr. Tice doing that, but maybe there is a comment somewhere where he might have alluded to that. All I know is that if a Reform member was sitting here now, they'd say, we are the party of the working classes. We are the party of the average hard-working man or woman.
Well, the thing is, the problem for me with Reform is that, look, they don't have a college for a start like Advance UK has. And at this particular moment, neither does Restore. We have a very unique party being built right in front of everyone's eyes. It's probably the most democratic, in many instances, the most unique British political party that's ever been built, and it's being built right from the grassroots with magnificent foundations. Nigel had it all. He could have had this for himself, but he wants to be the main man and the only man.
On that point, Paul, thank you for your time. Really appreciate that. Paul Thorpe is from Advance UK. He's a college member with that political party. You did hear three voices there, from Charlie Downs from Restore Britain and, of course, Marion Senthil-Nathan from Reform.
So there you go. That was my brief appearance on the Talk TV earlier on. I heard Ian Collins later say that he was pretty sure that Richard Tice would never have said or described the working class as that lot, and there must have been another context to it. And to a degree, you know, like I'm always like to be honest with everyone, to a degree, he was right. He was talking about the Unite the Kingdom lot, Tommy Robinson's lot, that lot. But the point that perhaps Ian will hopefully appreciate when he gets to see exactly what I meant, and Richard Tice's comments. And I'm surprised that he was unaware of those comments, very surprised. And I like Ian Collins. He's one of the, you know, for me, he's one of the better presenters on Talk. The bottom line is, all of those people on those Unite the Kingdom events, they are the ordinary people. They are the ordinary working class people, not only white working class, but people from all backgrounds that have red, white and blue in their hearts, all patriots from all different areas and regions of the country. They are the working class, and not just the working class either. So, you know, when Richard Tice said that, like, I don't feel that my comments today on Talk was particularly inaccurate. Let me know what you guys think. You might think otherwise. Curtis, what about Lucy Letby? Yep, Curtis, look, you know, this is the thing. The Lucy Letby case is one that I have simply not followed at all, if I'm honest. So I could not offer an opinion on her guilt, her innocence. I know that she's been obviously found guilty and is serving a life sentence for the horrific murder of young babies, basically. I'm also aware there's a clamour in some areas, at least, for a retrial or her release, or the fact that she may be innocent. I can't comment on any of that because I just haven't followed the case. But there is a good case in point there, Curtis, that if she had have been subject to capital punishment, in other words, the death penalty, and later on found to be innocent, well then, like I said, you can't bring someone back, can you? Curtis, thank you very much. You was brilliant, Paul. You need to be an MP. I'd probably be more comfortable being an MP than I would be sitting in for Ben Habib on Talk TV, in all honesty, because then you can really rip into the people, because you got your enemy, haven't you, right in front of your very eyes. You know, that you're looking in the whites of their eyes and you can really give it to them. Marie says, God bless Tommy. Yeah, I hope he gets on well out in the States. It's going to be very interesting to see who he's meeting. I have no idea what he's up to. He's very difficult to get hold of these days. He's here, there, and everywhere. Nelly, I don't watch talk much now. A lot of presenters make my blood boil, so I missed you on there. Yeah, I can't say I watch it very often. And I think, to be honest with you, you know, Alex Phillips is someone I've always liked and respected. Never agreed with her 100% on different things, but, you know, I've always had a respect for Alex. But I thought her performance, and that's why I would call it the other day, her performance was frankly, well, melodramatic is being polite. I guess most of you guys have seen that. Rab says Rupert is the chosen one. Possibly. Have a look at Liam Tuff's interview with Ben Habib that's been released this evening. That's debatable. You know, as I said earlier, you know, I'll repeat what I said during the Ian Collins interview. I think it is very clear now that the United Kingdom and the British people are absolutely desperate for a Churchillian style leader. And we've got to the point where nothing else is going to do now. Nothing else will suffice. And we are blessed to have two great men in Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe. And I think the overwhelming consensus of opinion from the public and from members of both parties is that we should come together and kickstart, as I stated, that long overdue process of genuinely unifying the right so that we can offer the country a genuine and credible solution to the problems that are quite clearly staring us right in front of the face. Because if we don't, then I fear that we're heading into a very frightening situation that none of us want to contemplate and that would be absolutely irreversible. And I think with if you look at Rupert's team, if you look at Ben's team, you know, we have a mix of age and experience, youth and energy. Can't agree with everything. And, you know, we're never going to do that. As I said the other night, you know, during that conciliatory message, we're never going to agree on everything. But if we sure as hell don't learn to come to accept that we're not going to agree on everything and just get on with it, we're in big, big trouble. And I think that, you know, reform are slowly but surely revealing themselves for exactly what they are. A party of failed career politicians that had their chance and blew it. And to the cost of the general public and the country, because, well, wouldn't it have been nice if reform were in the position that they're in now, with a stronger, tougher, more genuine message, with Rupert Lowe and Ben Habib still in place, and many of the hundreds of good people that have now left reform to join other parties. Let me read you. Let me read you some of the rumours that are coming. Now, these are coming from people that know their stuff. So the latest that's coming through is that these are, as I say, these are on the grapevine. They're rumours. I can't confirm these. These are not just made up willy-nilly. These are genuine things that are coming through to me from people that are still in reform and in high places. Generic is already planning a leadership bid, which will be funded by his wife and her connections. Yusuf is the presumptive heir, but it's obvious to all that he has no route to win leadership that involves a member's vote. Apparently, Lee Anderson isn't overly happily being largely frozen out since Henrik and Suella Braverman have been given jobs. And Reform are convinced that Sarah Poaching may defect to Restore and Rupert Lowe. And it said that both Anderson and Poaching are both unhappy are both unhappy they've not been given shadow portfolios, despite both being MPs for much longer than the Tory defectors and Yusuf not being an MP at all. So unrest in the Reform camp, allegedly, these are things that are being sent to me by people in high places in Reform, and that I can absolutely promise you. Right, let's throw the link to the show in the chat so that you guys can hop on and have your say. Listen to me waffle on all night. You'll get bored stiff. 2,000 people just under watching. The link is in the chat. If you've got anything to say this evening, hop on. You can talk about whatever subject you wish to speak about, and we will discuss. Good luck, Tommy in America, says Joy. Starmer will be tearing his hair out. I'm surprised he's actually got any left, to be fair. Let's have a little look here. Blitzer is first on. Blitzer, how are you doing? Good evening.
Hi, Paul.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Better than sweaty nonsicus.
I bet he's sweating now.
Buckets.
What's going on, my friend? What have you got on your mind?
Well, I think today is a historic day because this is going to be the beginning of the end for the House of Windsor. Not the monarchy, the House of Windsor. We've tried getting rid of the monarchy once before, and we couldn't find a workable solution, so we had to bring the monarchy back. So what will probably happen is that the monarchy will be retained as an institution. We just replace one cast of characters with another, which means that the Windsors are on their way out, and Britain will soon be looking for a new royal family.
Blimey, that's a great statement, or a big statement. I mean, how would that, I mean, excuse my ignorance, but how would that work? How would you look for a new royal family?
Well, if we look at the last time a royal family was replaced, the Hanoverians replaced the Stuarts, you'd be looking at an obscure bloodline. In the case of the Hanoverians, it was a bloodline traced back to James VI's daughter, Elizabeth, who we went to war for during the 30 Years' War for a brief time. So that's how the Hanoverians were put on the throne after Anne failed to produce any children and the Stuart line died out. So it'll probably be a bloodline in this country, or they may just do what Parliament sort of did in 1688 and ask a foreign monarch or somebody completely out of the loop who may have married into the royal family in some way to be the new head of state and start a new bloodline that way. I mean,
maybe Keir Starmer's got his wife looking up on that website. What is it? Findmyhistory.com as we speak, hoping he can become king.
I think Tony Blair has the same idea as well. But if it was up to me, personally, I would replace the monarchy with a single head of state, and the head of state would be the Speaker of the House of Commons, who would be elected by his parliamentary constituency, of course, but also all the members of the House of Commons. The only flaw with that plan of mine is that ever since Betty Boothroyd, Commons speakers have been a very, very poor bunch. Gorbals Mick was a bully who was forced out. Bercow was a traitor. And as for Lindsay Hoyle, I've come to the conclusion that Starmer must have some compromat on him. That would explain some of his rather odd choices over the last few years.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
you're in favour of keeping the monarchy, but not the one that we currently got.
I think worst case scenario, keep the institution of the monarchy, but we need a totally different, not just a different monarch, but a different royal family. If we were to go down that road, even though he's handled the Epstein files rather badly recently, I would be all in favour of the House of Trump replacing the House of Windsor.
I think you might get Blitzer. That's a fun. I'd say you might get a bit of support for that, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. All the best. You have a good evening. That's Blitzer there. Farty Pants is up next. Good evening, mate. How you doing?
Hello, Paul. How are you, my friend?
I'm very well. How are you? What's on your mind?
Right. First of all, if you don't like to call me Farty Pants, just call me FP.
FP. Yeah, I'll go for that in future. I think FP.
Yeah.
What's on your mind, FP?
Well, particularly to do with Restore and Advance, we are both two ends of the same stick. And we will unite. I do believe there will be a unity between the two parties. And what I don't like to see is infighting on comments between people point scoring over one another.
Yeah.
Because we are going to come together. Now, I'm in no hurry. There's no rush.
No, there's no rush. I mean, look, I agree there's no rush. I think for me, I will say I think the earlier the better, because, the longer we've got, the stronger we can become. But there is no rush right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the only thing I would say is I don't exactly feel that so far, at least, Rupert's rhetoric has been particularly encouraging. And if you don't mind me saying, perhaps a little bit presumptuous that everyone is just going to, get behind the leader, as it were.
Well, that's true.
So look, I'd like to see a little bit more conciliatory language from Rupert, if I'm honest, and a little bit more respect for Ben and what he's achieved. And I think the one thing for me that the boys from Restore, the boys and girls from Restore, are overlooking is the structure and the foundations of the pie that Ben has built, how strong it is, and how it is probably, as I said on Ian Collins earlier on, probably the most democratic and most well thought out political pie that this country has ever seen. And I think it will be a shame to just dismiss that out of hand.
Well, as I say, there's no hurry for Advance and Restore to unite. What needs to happen is Ben, Rupert, and Nick Tanconi, all three of them sit down and thrash it out and get and knock out the finer details, and then unite. If it's on the cards.
Yeah, I mean, look, I had Connor Tomlinson on yesterday. I've got messages going back to Rupert Lowe. I'm in dialogue with Nick Tanconi. Obviously, I speak to Ben not every day, but almost every day. Look, things are happening. We can only keep trying. We can hope. And, if everyone sees sense, then there will be unity. Because like I keep saying, the biggest thing for me, my biggest answer to anyone's question is this: what's the alternative? The alternative is, potentially a Nigel Farage led government. But I don't think Nigel will ever be Prime Minister. I don't think he wants to be Prime Minister. I really don't. I don't think he's got the guts for it.
I don't think he would make a good Prime Minister if he ever did get on.
No, I don't. I think we see. Some pretty. I think we see some weak attempts at trying to keep some of the promises, but we've gone past. This is the thing. We've gone past all that now. We need men of steel. We need a Churchillian style leadership that does what it says on the tin. We do need those mass deportations. 10 years ago, we could have maybe got away without mass deportations. Now, I think, unfortunately, fortunately, whichever way you want to phrase it, I don't think we have any other option now than to have a mass clear out and get our country back onto some footing that we all bloody recognise. Because I know one thing, I don't recognise the country that I was born and bred in anymore.
Yeah. You see, again, England's going to turn out the same as Dublin. Dublin is actually a tent city.
Mm.
On the migrant hotels, there's a 3-strike rule, where if you commit an offence, you know, like fighting in the migrant hotel, or drunk, or taking drugs, after the third offence, you're kicked out onto the streets.
Yeah.
And they go to the NGOs and charities to get a free tent, and they go and they pitch up their tent in the middle of the city. And that's what Dublin's turned into, a tent city full of migrants. And, you know, we can't even afford to keep our own people, let alone all these migrants that's coming across. And Britain's the same, because they're not giving anything to the economy, they're only taking out. And a country can't cope with that, or they're going to go bankrupt eventually.
Yeah, yeah.
When do you say, right, enough is enough, we need to stop this?
Well, exactly. When do you say that? And for me, it was, you know, it was before Brexit. That's why Brexit was. Yeah. That's why the people voted for Brexit, because they'd already had enough of it then, and since then it's just completely gotten out of hand. FP, thank you very much, my friend. Lovely to have you on. Always a pleasure.
The best wishes to you, Mrs. Thorpe.
Thank you very much. All the best to you, mate. God bless.
Take care.
Lucy is up next. Lucy, good evening.
Hello, can you hear me, Paul?
I can hear you perfectly, Lucy. What is on your mind? Welcome to the show.
I thought I was your only conspiracy theorist, Paul, but now we've got one with the royal family, and I can't beat that one this time. Sorry.
King Trump, blimey.
Oh, there we go. That would be something, wouldn't it?
It's set the world alight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm calling because there was something that was said yesterday with Connor's interview that really resonated with me. So I'm like Connor, I'm a Blairite baby. And something you just said, where you said, you know, I don't recognise the country anymore. Unfortunately, the people that are of my age and Connor's age, we don't know anything different.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find myself being is nostalgic for something I've never had, you know, the clean streets, safe streets, unity, a community where you know your neighbours and like you can leave your doors unlocked, and just a general high trust society. And when Connor was saying all those things, I thought, well, at least it's not just me feeling like that, because you sometimes feel a bit silly when you're missing something you never had, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does make sense. It does make sense. I mean, it's actually very sad. I mean, I think my oldest daughter is probably a little bit that way herself, you know, in the respect that she really sometimes doesn't always understand why I get so upset, because bless her heart, she wasn't born, she wasn't around, you know, in the days that I consider to be, you know, we're members, or I'm a member of the lucky generation. You know, we missed the war. We didn't have the war to put up with, and we lived through the 60s, the 70s and the 80s, which were probably three of the best decades in British history as far as freedom and democracy is concerned. The miners might have something to say about that, bless them, you know, because obviously they didn't exactly have a great time. But you know, look, at the end of the day, I think what's important now is that we don't allow people of your age, of Connor's age, to forget, or we do our best that we put that pride into you, into our youngsters, into our kids. I know that I've tried with my children to give them that sense of pride.
Yeah, and I think that's what's sad, is that people don't seem to have pride in where they live anymore, or pride in themselves. I think it's been a bit drilled out of us, and now we just sit and think, well, what's the point? And as I say, I'm in my late 20s, and it's been, you know, my parents very patriotic and my grandparents fought in the war. So obviously that's why I lean this way and not the other way. But you sit and you think it's just a really strange feeling. And then when Connor was saying that yesterday, I just thought, people always say, you know, it's the younger generation, you know, the people that are leaning more left. But I think actually there's more of us feeling how I'm explaining it now is actually we look back and we see how things were, and we hear the story of, you know, with our parents and so on, and you sit and think that sounds more like what I want to raise my family in comparison to what we grew up in. And then when Connor was saying that, you know, we need to trust Rupert's judgment, and I do believe that Ben does trust Rupert's judgment. The only issue I have with saying that fully is it's taken Rupert a long time to come to the realization that another party is needed. And I sit and think he's made the move with the movement, and I don't really know why he went that route, because obviously I'm assuming it's to do with something in Parliament, and that he thought he would be able to get more backings with petitions and trying everything, you know, that was in the toolbox, and that's not worked. I think he does need Rupert. He needs Ben as his deputy, because Ben's had the foresight that Rupert didn't have. And I think if they don't come together sharpish, then it's going to be another 8 months or whatever it's been. And that's a long time in politics for it to not go our way.
Lucy, I think that's a really, really good analysis and a very accurate one. And I mean, the only thing that I would say about, you know, trusting one man implicitly, I'm afraid that for me is a bit of a problem. And I'll tell you why, because as you get older, and Rupert, I mean, I in the last, let's say, couple of years, I've actually started to realise myself what getting older means. What getting older takes away from you. For an example, it can definitely take away a bit of an edge from your character, your personality. You know, you tend to be a little bit more relaxed and a little bit more laid back. You don't necessarily have the edge that you had when you was 50 or 55. We're not all the same. Rupert may have every bit of an edge today as he had 20 years ago. I don't know. But what I do know is that I prefer Ben's approach, in that whereas he is accountable to other members of the party, in the respect that if he's getting it wrong, we have the power to tell him, and we would ultimately have the power to oust him.
Yeah.
And I think that's a man who is comfortable in his own skin, a man that is comfortable in his own convictions. Whereas the other route, to me, trust me, you know, the Caesar approach, hail your leader, to me that smacks a little bit of arrogance. And when someone, I mean, I think Rupert's, is he 67 now? He's going to be 70 or thereabouts by the time, you know, is age a problem? I don't know. But personally, I prefer Ben's approach.
And it's also, what happens if Rupert isn't there? Then what? Does it all just fold?
Exactly.
You know, so, and I do think, seeing the two different approaches and what has happened in the past year, I think Rupert needs Ben, and I just feel like everyone around Rupert is probably seeing it the other way, and I just don't think that's the case, because I think Ben had the foresight that Rupert and his team didn't. And when you're seeing the back and forth, which is quite upsetting, you know, on Twitter between the two of them, or whatever it is, X now, I don't know, and you're seeing, you know, oh, well, you know, Ben, I've said that you and Advance can join, and you go, well, in what capacity? What does that mean? You haven't said, you have not been clear. So I don't, like, he hasn't been clear. We obviously, and it sounds like there hasn't been many conversations happening behind the scenes. So you go, well, what does that actually mean? And then when he's asked about it, he's extremely vague, and it's so frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, again, I agree absolutely entirely, and I'd go even further and say that I think Rupert needs Ben more than he realises. You know, a lot
I agree completely.
And you know, again, you know, one of the reasons why I'm so impressed with Ben, I've just seen someone in the chat there say that Ben is not the man. Look, I'm not saying that Ben would make a better PM than Rupert. Personally, I think he'd make every bit as good as a PM as Rupert, although Rupert does have more of the X factor about him when it comes to perhaps that the headmaster sort of approach where people are a little bit more wary of them, a little
They
bit
need
more.
to be a team. It's not one and the other. I think
Exactly,
they're a top duo,
Yeah,
and they both need each other. And I think Ben acknowledges that, but I feel like Rupert isn't. And I
Rupert
feel
doesn't.
like
Yeah,
whoever is around him needs to say, look, Ben's had the foresight. He does have his own following. Together, they would just be a brilliant team. And I think Ben thinks of things perhaps Rupert hasn't.
yeah.
Especially, as I say, he's the one that came up with the political party first, and then all of a sudden Rupert's gone, oh yeah, that's actually needed.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you know what, Lucy? Something else you said is absolutely spot on when you said that, like, what happens if Rupert all of a sudden isn't around? Whereas Ben has built Advance with his absence in the future in mind. So it's not the Ben Habib party, it's not the Rupert Lowe party, it's not the Nigel Farage show. This is the Advance UK political party being built with great roots, and I'm not knocking Restore or Rupert when I say that. This is just what I think a lot of us are seeing from the outside.
I completely agree. And after your conversations, obviously, that you've had since last Friday, there were talks, wasn't there, on that Friday stream about the sinister element in the room. Are people still having those thoughts, or do you feel better after hearing what has been said since?
Look, I think Charlie Downs on talk earlier on summed it up fairly accurately. Look, you can't pick and choose who supports you. The football clubs can't choose who supports them. Like, people will support whoever they want to support. I think there's a fine line, and I think it has to be addressed carefully. Do I have fears? I still have some fears. I still have some concerns, if I'm honest. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm sure it'll all come out in the wash. But one thing that I will put my trust in, Rupert, is to sort that out and make sure that they do keep the real hard liners out that are actually going to destroy the party's chances rather than enhance them. And if these people love their country as much as they say they do, then they will be gracious enough to step back and let Rupert and Ben get on with the bloody job. Yeah,
completely. And just on the things with what you were saying about reform, I think Sarah Poaching would be such an asset wherever she goes. I think she's great. She's just a woman that just doesn't care, and she's like, I'm going to say it how it is. And Lee Anderson just needs to realise he's an attack dog and nothing else.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me, from what I'm hearing in reform, I'm not sure. I mean, Lee might be looking for his. I don't know. He might end up going off and running off for the Greens. Who knows with Lee?
Yeah, this is true.
There you go, Lucy. Thank you so much. Yeah, great. Yeah, every badge. You can collect them all. Lucy, great call. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Have a lovely.
All the best. Yeah.
Bye.
Sorry, bye-bye. See you later. That is Lucy. Great call. Great call. Let's bring in Jack, who last time was having trouble with his mic. Jack, can you hear me this evening?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine this time, mate. What's on your mind, Jack?
Yeah, so as your previous guest was saying about Sarah Poaching and Lee Anderson and Reform UK being mistreated. Now, if this is true, now I don't know if it is because I'm not in Reform UK in the background, but if it's true, what I'd say to Lee Anderson and Sarah Poaching is, okay, come on, time to join Advance and Restore Britain. Come and join it if you really are on the people's side. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I don't think that Rupert Lowe would accept Lee Anderson. He may, but I don't think he would. Sarah Poaching, I think, yes, he would. But Lee Anderson, if he's fallen out with Nigel Farage and others within the party, I think he's going to be politically homeless, really. Where does he go? Back to the Tories? I don't think so. There's nowhere else for him really to go. I'm not sure. Lee is, I mean, look, I've gone hot and cold on Lee. At the moment, I'm cold on him. In the past, I've thought, yeah, he's one of the good guys. He's on side. I'm not sure about Lee, to be honest. I can't decide. What's your opinion? You think he'd be a good asset?
He might be. But what I'd say is only time will tell. Yeah, we can speculate whether he does this or that, but
yeah, exactly. We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure. But personally, I think Sarah Poaching would. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sarah move over with Rupert. I think there's been another, is it 7 or 9 councillors moved over to Restore today. So look, they're certainly on a hot run. Where it remains to be seen how long that continues. Jack, I'm going to move on, mate, because I've got so many people waiting tonight. Thank you so much for joining us again. As always, Glenn is up next, and then it is Foxy Lady. Glenn, good evening. Just got a bit of feedback there, Glenn. Can you hear me?
Hey up, dude.
There, mate. How you doing? You okay?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Glenn. What's on your mind this evening? Okay?
I'm fine, yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, mate. I can hear you, Glenn. What's on your mind this evening? Okay?
I'm fine, yeah. Can you?
Right. Glenn, unfortunately, we got
Yeah,
horrible
can you hear me now?
feedback. Yeah, we
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, mate. Can you hear me?
In a minute, Paul, for God's sake.
Right, I'm going to have to move on for the moment, mate. Let's bring in Foxy Lady. How are you doing this evening, lovely?
Hi, Paul. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you very well, thank you. How are you? What's on your mind?
Oh, I'm literally just recovering. I got really poorly actually after going up to Denton, Gordon and Denton, supporting Nick Buckley last weekend. I picked up a cold because I was stood in the cold for 5 hours, and so I've been quite poorly the beginning of the week. So I'm just recovering now. Sorry.
Get well soon.
So. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say a little bit about what what I feel at the moment. It was a bit of a shock last weekend when we found out what was going on, and we didn't know where to go. I think it got everybody a bit on the back foot. We didn't know, but I do believe now that, like, Rupert's made his mind up that that's where he wants to go. We Advance need to just keep pushing on, doing what we do, and supporting Nick Buckley, and any other by-election that comes up and people who need to be represented, we need to support them and just give them all the support that they need, because at the end of the day, we're two parties and they're both parties on the right, and that's what we want. We want it to swing, the Overton window to swing that way, so that we can then bring in the right things to bring our country back, and that's what we need.
Yeah,
but the thing is, if you've noticed, sorry, go on, Paul.
I was just going to say, I think that you're absolutely right as far as Advance is concerned. We just get on and do our thing. I think we're doing it so well, and I think the structure is so good and so strong.
It's perfect. Yeah, it's really good.
We just do our own thing and let and wait for the guys over at Restore to actually see what they're missing out on. But yeah, go on, carry on.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need to do now. Now we know, and it's settled my mind as well now, because I was a bit disturbed, last weekend, but it's settled my mind now, and I know what I need to do. But I wanted to just change the subject slightly, because I think we do need to move away from this a little bit, because it's taken up a lot of, it's a bit of a distraction. But the policy I would like to see, and I'm not sure what the policies are in Advance at the moment, about the COVID thing, right? The COVID scan, because we've got this age around us where things are just being pushed under the carpet now. Nothing's really taken much notice of. Now, I think the COVID, no matter whether you took jabs or you didn't, we were all lied to. All of us were lied to. We've got to appreciate that nobody should be going, oh, you took it and you shouldn't have done. No, we were all lied to. I never did, only because I've been awake since 2008, and I knew this was coming along way back then. Yeah, so there was no way that was getting anywhere near me personally, but I could see how it was unfolding, and it was it was so bad the way they, just like they cancel everybody that they don't want to hear the right narrative. They were cancelling doctors and scientists and people that were screaming out saying, please, please, please don't do this. But yet, you know, the propaganda machine went on and on. Now, we've just had this COVID inquiry. Has anybody heard anything else about it? Nobody. It's just pushed under the carpet, and so many families were devastated. So many people died, you know, and there is evidence to say that there was, you know, they knew about it, but nothing's happening. And it seems as though it's another thing that's pushed under the carpet. Now, does Advance UK have some sort of policies, you know, that will be looking into this? Because I think that we do need to have something set up, just like Rupert Lowe's done the rape gang inquiry, independent. We should have some sort of independent inquiry, because I know and I believe that all the people that were injured by this vaccine, or, you know, that they were just lost family members, should be compensated in some way, because trillions and trillions of pounds were made on the pharmaceutical side. So that, you know, I'm so angry. I'm angry for the fact that there's people out there that are suffering. You know, there's people out there that can't work anymore, you know, and this is probably why we've got so much of a welfare state at the moment, because there are so many injured people. There's so many people that are you know, going to hospital.
Yeah. I get it. I mean, look, what I would say is that I look, as far as I'm aware, as we speak right now, we're very busy in the back end here trying to write policy, or not me personally. That's not what I do. Yeah, I think that will be somewhere down the line. It's something I could speak to better about. But I tell you what, I am confident that we will get with Advance. And this would certainly encompass exactly what you've just spoken about. Yeah. And this is a name that's just in my head, okay? You know, I'd like to see something like a Ministry of Truth and Justice, right? Where we look at anything that has gone on in the past historically, examine it, if necessary, have an inquiry, and if people need to be brought to book or brought to justice, that can be done. If compensation is required, that should be done. If elements of truth need to be revealed whereby they were previously hidden, they will be revealed. So it's something like, you know, a Ministry of Truth and Justice, I don't know, and that would certainly encompass things like COVID, and it could also potentially encompass you know, other historical. It could have encompassed something like, you know, the Hillsborough tragedy, where you could look at things historically and go, right, you know, is this worth, historically, is it too far back? And certainly in the case of COVID, it wouldn't be too far back. But right now, I don't think there's any plans that, as far as I'm aware of, but we are so we're at the beginning, we're at the infancy of writing policy, the first of which was revealed when you were there on the 7th. We got a lot more to go and a lot of hard work in front of us. You know what I would say? I think for someone like you, knowing you as I've met you in the past, I know your background, etc., you know, your military background, I would like to see people like you applying to join the college.
I have actually, Paul. I've applied to join. I have applied to join. I'm already speaking with them, but that's based on my animal nutrition background. And that's the other thing that I wanted to bring up this evening, Paul, is the fact that, you know, I want to know if there's policies in place. There's a lot of animal lovers. Britain is a country of animal lovers. I love my animals, as you well know, and I know that you do too. And the same that's going on in the pharmaceutical side, in the human side, is going on in the animal side. And I've done lots of podcasts, I've done lots of videos about this. The fact that the only thing is animals can't speak, so you know, they need somebody to speak for them. But the same thing, did you know that there is an epidemic of type 2 diabetes in horses? I bet you didn't know that, right? But there is, because it makes money, because it's a chronic illness that they can keep these animals sick for all their life, and their owners are running around like headless chickens trying to pay out the vet bills for the pharmaceutical drugs for these horses. Now, it's all can be sorted out by diet, but they don't tell the owners that. And so I go around and I talk about this all the time. And it's not only that, it's all the things about all the proteins that they're trying to introduce into cows. They're trying to research insect protein, for instance, in for cows. Now, how many cows do you know eat insects? But we had the CJD thing where we lost 4.5 million cows in the 90s, because they started feeding bone meal protein to cows. So there's all these things that are going on in the background that are making our animals sick. Now, obviously, we don't eat horses in this country, but we eat cattle, and the bovia thing and all that sort of issue that came up. All these things need addressing, and they need to be done with not profit. It's all to do with money, and we move away from that way of thinking and to do with the way they're brought up, the animals' health and how they are brought up, because what we eat, what they eat is what we eat.
Yeah, and
so we need to.
I was going to say, I tell you, as a former horse owner myself, if you've ever had an equine vet out, you'll know exactly that what you're saying is absolutely right. I mean, it's mortgage your house time. I mean, look, as far as the animals are concerned, you won't find a bigger animal lover than me. As far as I'm concerned, and I don't speak for the party now, but I speak for myself, the murder of an animal is not a lot different from the murder of a human being. If you can do it to an animal, you can do it to a person.
It's more horrific. This halal thing, that's barbaric as far as I'm concerned. To slit an animal's throat and hang it and let it bleed to death. I mean, I'm sorry, we've moved away from that. We should not have that practice in this country, because we don't do that. We stun our animals before they die, and then they get the blood removed, they bleed the blood. But the animal is stunned. It doesn't sit there for 4 or 5 minutes, with its throat cut, and it's horrific. Why are we allowing that practice in this country? Full stop. No, it doesn't matter what else goes on.
Not only that, why are we allowing it to be fed to our children in our schools without their knowledge?
Yes.
I mean, I'm telling you now, you go to a Nando's now and it's almost certainly halal, and they don't tell you.
Yeah, but why are they doing that? Why are they allowing that to happen? And somebody brought up the issue of kosher meat. Right, I know there's a difference there, but a lot of that meat's imported, because they keep their practices, and they run their traditions or whatever. But we are being forced down that road by having it in supermarkets, restaurants, schools, hospitals, and it is just not acceptable. Halal meat is not acceptable. If you want to import it into your home or whatever, then fair dues, do what you like. But we don't have slaughterhouses here specifically to hang a cow up or a sheep or a goat, slit its throat and let it bleed to death.
And torture it, basically. Foxy lady, thank you so much for coming on. Always lovely to see you. And good luck with your application. Good luck with your application to the college.
Thank you.
You'll be an asset.
Thank you. I'm speaking to David Rhodes, hopefully shortly, and hopefully, fingers crossed. Cross your fingers for me.
I will do. All the best to you, my darling. Take care. All the best.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Quick message here from Mr. Drayan that Richard needs to apologise for calling Rupert and his team as wrong-uns. Who the F is he to be able to say that about the brilliant Rupert Lowe and his team? Disgusting and needs calling out. Mr. Drayan, if you saw Richard's live stream this morning, he did indeed apologise for his choice of words. I believe he is also messaging certain individuals privately to apologise as well. And I will say this, look, I spoke to Richard myself and said, you know what, mate? Maybe you could have worded it slightly better, right? But I will never knock Richard, and I'll tell you why I won't knock him, because I've never met a man more passionate than Richard about saving his country. That's basically all that matters to him. And I admire that spirit. Would I have worded things differently? Yes, definitely. Would I have advised Richard to have worded it slightly differently? Yes. But he is what he is. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and you either like him or you loathe him. But the one thing you can't knock is his passion and his love for this country. Thank you very much for that. There you go. Marie says, love Richard. Linford is up next. Linford, how are you doing, my friend?
How are you doing, Paul?
I'm
you all right,
very
mate?
well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm there's light at the end of the tunnel, mate, which is good.
Well, hopefully, mate. Hopefully, what is on your mind tonight?
Do you know what? I've got a couple things, really, mate. And I was on the Baraka show the other day.
Yes, mate, I heard you. Yes, I did see that. Yeah.
And I was chatting to the treasurer of Advance, and he was saying that an email was going to be going out to the college with an announcement on what's going to happen with restoring it. And I said to him, Paul, you know what? I don't think that Ben should bend over at the minute and jump ship and join with Rupert. You know, I don't think he should do that, you know. And, you know, Ben is one of the most patriotic men that I've ever met in my life, you know. He really is.
Linford, I agree with you. I agree with you that we shouldn't bend over.
I'll give my reasons why, Paul.
Let's hear them.
My reasons why are because Rupert's the people that Rupert's getting, you know, and like you can't choose who joins, right? But all these ethno-nats and everything else is given a bad name. You know what I mean? And do we want to be affiliated with that? No, we don't, because that's not what we're about, Paul. You know, we're nothing to do with race or creed. We're about uniting the country, you know, and being as one and closing the borders, looking after our wives, our children, our grandchildren, etc., and just generally being good people, Paul. You know, and having them ethno-nats, they've got the wrong. Yeah, they've just got. They come from a different planet. That's my opinion.
I think what I would say is, and I agree with what I already said it earlier on, mate, is what Charlie Down said. You know, you can't choose who chooses to support you or follow you. And what they can choose is how they deal with that following and how they deal with the adulation from people they perhaps would prefer to do without. What it does prove, mate, over the years is that, blimey, if people were getting upset about Tommy's views, well, you know, apparently to them, Tommy's a complete traitor. He's a race traitor. He's this, he's that. And, you know, me and you are traitors according to those people.
And you know what? I'm glad you... Sorry, Paul, go ahead, mate.
No, go on, go for it.
I'm glad you mentioned Tommy. You know what? And I'm glad he's out in America. Do you know what? But my gut tells me, Paul, is that what's going to end up happening is that he's going to be exiled and won't come back into this country, because what's going to happen out in America is so many people are going to want to interview him, and so much is going to come out that this country are going to go, do you know what? We ain't having him back in this country. You know, and I hope I'm wrong, because you know what? He's such a patriotic man. I love Tommy to bits. I love him. I love the man. No, I love him dearly. No, but this country and our government are so corrupt, and they make me thrive. They really do.
Well, mate, listen, we all feel the same about the government. Look, what I will say is this: I'm going to be honest with you now. I'm going to be honest with my viewers, right? I mean, look, I'm pleased that he's been able to get out to America, because that is something that he needs to do. He needs to be out in America. He needs to get in front of Elon Musk. You know, when I went to see Tommy in jail before he's released, I said to him, Tommy, the ambition here is to get you together with Ben Habib, get you together and get you around the table with Elon Musk one day. You know, and it was a laugh at that time, because it didn't seem like anything like that was ever going to happen. Well, you know, less than a year later, it's going to happen, right? But I will say this: with the political temperature in America at the moment, and I know how Sarah White was treated by certain members of the American community when she went out there and told them that she was a supporter of ICE. I worry about Tommy's safety in America actually more than I worry about his safety in the UK, if I'm honest.
Really? I'm the opposite.
I do worry about his safety more out there. And I tell you why, mate, because unfortunately, as we saw...
they carry guns.
They carry guns. And as we've seen with Charlie Kirk, you know, A nutcase in the United Kingdom might carry a knife, but a nutcase in America carries a gun. And
Yeah,
there are
you know
plenty
what?
of there are plenty of nutters out there on the left. They've got just as many as we have, if not more. Only their nutters carry guns. So
you've opened my eyes to that, mate. You have to look at that differently from that. And the final thing, Paul, I wanted to say is what's happened with not Prince Andrew now, but Andrew Mountbatten.
Yeah,
All this has happened. I think what's going to happen is I think that King Charles needs to abdicate because he knew a lot more, than what's going on. And, he's going to be pulled into this as well. And I think he should do the right about thing, abdicate, let William and Kate take over and let there be a fresh start for the royal family. Otherwise, I can see that people not wanting the royal family. And believe me, I'm a royalist, Paul. I really am. But he needs to do the right thing.
Can we not dig up Queen Victoria? She was the best monarch we ever had. She'd do for me right now. I mean, look, I agree. I mean, I'd personally, I'd give William a go and just pray that he's got something about him. He's got something inside him where he recognises the history of this country, the history of the monarchy, and does his bloody duty and remembers that he's a defender of the faith.
Totally. And I remember his mum, God rest her soul. I remember being at the funeral down there by Big Ben. I camped out overnight. My baby's mum was pregnant at the time, and I camped out overnight and I was literally 4 or 5 feet away from them as the earth passed. Diana to me was the ultimate. She was, wow. I lost a bit of patriotism with the royal family once what happened to her, because we all know the reality and the truth of what happened. But, I think it is time now for people to step down and to allow, William and Kate to embark on their path.
Give them a go. And I like Kate. Linford, I'm going to move on, my friend, because I've got some new guests
Paul.
as well.
All the best, mate.
All the best to you, mate. Lovely to see you. Hope you are well. All the best. Alan, you are up next, my friend. How are you? Can you hear me?
You've been very busy today, Paul.
Just a little bit, Alan. You could say I've been a little bit busy today, to be fair.
I was thinking that way. I haven't been seen, and I wasn't coming on.
No, I can see you, mate. I can see you in the background there. What's on your mind, Alan?
Right, 3 things I want to mention to you tonight. 1, last night's video. Very good. Well, I'm going to speak to you off air about it because I've got 3 points and I'm going to number them from 1 to 3 for you to watch your video back and see if you pick up on what he's saying.
Do you know what, Alan? If you want to do it live, I'm more than happy for you to do it live. I really don't mind.
Right, 1. He turns down and says, he calls Richard by Richard, which he doesn't know Richard, right? Because he's never met him. He's never had him on his show. Right? Yeah. He's a very well-educated person, this person we're talking about now. So don't misunderstand. I've got 2 lives. This is my second life. I had to learn how to operate everything from being paralysed from the neck down. As well as battling what I'm battling now. My first life, I was in services and I spoke body language, facial expressions, and speech words to pick out who's lying and who isn't lying, right?
Yeah.
So last night I picked three things out with him. 1, he used, he said he wasn't an ethno-nat, and Richard, he said, I've no decorum about Richard because he should have been calling him Mr. Ingman, and I have respect for Richard because he was a damn sight older than him, so he should have been calling him Mr. Ingman. I call him Richard because Richard knows me off your show. He's met me. He knows who I am. He knows what I tried to do for Tommy because he was on the show, and he knows that I go into his show in the morning, and he also knows he goes into his show. I go into his show at night time. So he knows who I am, right? So, beside the point, he tried to use philosophy, the first point, right, to prove that he wasn't an ethno-nat. Now, using philosophy, anybody can use. I can use philosophy if I was lying, because one thing you've got to have is a bleeding good memory when you're lying, right? 2, the second one was, he says, well, I've written policy for Rupert Lowe.
Yeah.
Then he went back on it, right? When you pointed that out, he turned around and said, well, I don't actually write policy because I'm an actual journalist myself, and I've been cancelled all these programs, trying to lose the part what he said. He was trying to overthrow the mistake he made. Then he said, when I speak to Rupert and I write policy, oh, he said, just let me rephrase that again. That was the third one I picked up on. So I knew I could smell a rat straight away last night. And believe you me, I've never spoke to as much French watching that interview last night. You know what I mean by French, right? Because you look confused at the end of the interview, enough to say, stop blowing smoke up my ass, sunshine, because it's not working. That's what I read. That's what I read from your face.
I tell you what, Alan, what I do during my interview style, in fact, my personal style, with all honesty, it's not just one interview people, but I always try and find a little bit of common ground where you can have a little bit of respect and decency among each other, and then hopefully let the person speak and let the public decide. I'm not one of these interviewers that's there to argue. There's no point in me and Connor going backwards and forwards at each other, throwing accusations, asking what you would class as try and got your questions. I want all of my guests, Connor included, to speak. Like Richard, for example. Richard comes on my show and he speaks, and people form their opinion. And over the course of weeks and months, they will decide, the individual, what they have in front of them for themselves. They don't need me to tell them. I let people make their own minds up. But look, fair observations. Alan, I've got lots of people waiting, my friend.
Can I just jump forward onto this?
Sure.
I don't think like the second thing I want to talk to you about quick is Stephen, congratulations in getting out in America. But if you think I'm going to deliver you presents that I tried to deliver to you in Woodhill, forget it, mate. I'm not coming to America. Second thing,
yes.
I watched the interview with Liam Tusk and Ben Habib today. Ben, he's built a party. He's built it on a solid rock, not quicksand. I don't think he should bend over and hand it all over to him, Rupert Lowe, because he talks about the way he speaks, and he recognises that he had a very privileged upbringing, and he realises that, but he speaks right to the working people, and he cares about the country, and I think that he should be our leader. He should carry on being our leader. We've got 3 years to go, and he will be in number 10, and he has got the backbone, and he has got the gumph and the knowledge and the brain up here to be able to speak and answer questions in Parliament and deliver what he says he's going to deliver. Now, Rupert Lowe speaks on his philosophy and his high-class words, which, if you watch the interview with Liam, you'll see him go like that, Ben. And that's all. That's called speaking with a silver spoon up your ass, as far as I'm concerned, right? Ben doesn't talk like that because he hasn't got a silver spoon up his ass.
Yeah, no, right? I agree.
He speaks to the core. He speaks to the core, and I say, you started the distance, lad, so make sure you finish it. That's what I say to Ben.
Good message, Alan.
About what everybody said.
Good message, and that is, thank you, all the best, mate. Hope you're well, mate. Take care.
Thank you, Paul.
And that is,
give my love to your missus for you. Right,
will do, brother. Thank you so much. The message that Alan gives there is one that's coming through me all the time. Victoria is up next, then it's Dupes, then it's Paula. Victoria, can you hear me? One's coming through me all the time. Victoria is up next, then it's Dupes, then it's Paula. Hey, Victoria, if you can turn your volume down a little bit, that would be great. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. What's on your mind, Victoria?
Yeah, no, it's just this division on the right thing. I think we need to stop doing it so publicly and sort of understand that we're actually living in an occupied country at the moment. And the right is the resistance. And we're showing our hand to the occupiers, or because the occupiers aren't just the people that are against us, the leftists, the immigrants, it's the government. It's
That's almost poetic. That when you put it that way, that we are the resistance. Wow.
and we're showing them our hand this early in the game. You know, we're giving them all the ammunition that they need, and the people that are, you know, Rupert is going to attract people that, because of Tommy's connection to Ben's party, won't get on board with with Ben's party. But and there's also, I wouldn't join Rupert's party for the reasons that Alan's just stated, because yes, I'd have a chat with him if he was in my local pub, but I wouldn't sit there and expect him to understand like a working class joke,
Yeah.
which I know Ben Habib would understand. You know, so
It's
there's,
quite
I
unique,
think
Ben, in that
we,
respect, isn't he? I think
yeah,
it's
but
quite unique. Yeah.
yeah, we could. So what I'm saying is, at this point, we should be casting our separate nets as wide as possible without attacking each other.
Oh, I
And
agree.
you know, and without and letting and well, instead of people, if people want to join Restore, prefer Restore, instead of telling them why they should come to Advance, saying, "Oh, good, yeah, I see where you're going there." Nobody in Advance wants the likes of Steve Laws, and he doesn't want to come to Advance because he doesn't think we're anywhere near as far right as possible. But he does. But they do believe that people like Restore and Connor will offer them more of an 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 extreme way in that direction, and will be more likely to vote. You'll also get the people that from Reform, they're not necessarily going to come to Advance, but they will go over to Restore
Yeah.
because Rupert represents more of where they're coming from than Nigel Farage does, because Nigel Farage is a showman.
So,
You know.
so Victoria, what are you saying? You're saying that we should both go collecting our members and then join up somewhere down the line?
Well, that is going to happen inevitably anyway. But if we stop attacking each other and
Yes,
stop
I
saying
agree.
we all need to make friends now, and we all need to, what we're saying is we're showing the enemy our cards this early on in an occupied situation. That is the most ridiculous strategy you could possibly have. It is ridiculous. What we need to do is manipulate the MSN just in a way that let them attack us, not let them pit us against each other, as in refuse
Yeah.
to get that when they put one from either party on. Say, well, I understand where you're coming from with that, but we're not quite prepared to go that far on that thing, on that certain issue. But we agree, we understand where you're coming from. And then we're creating the big umbrella that Donald Trump managed to do in America. We haven't got one party that can get everybody on board. Rupert can't, because he can't take us off from advance. He can't. We won't all go. It will have to be a coalition, but we should not be showing our cards to the enemy the way that we are doing at the minute. It's counterproductive. It's silly.
Victoria, I think that is an absolutely immense call. I mean, as you say, counterproductive I mean, whilst you're talking, I'm making notes here, because what I do when I go through my lives, I make a lot of notes, and then I'll put them forward to certain people for their consideration. This is another thing that I love about Advance, is that you guys get to have your say, and it does get fed back to the leadership. Now, here's the thing. The two words that you use there that have really struck me is resistance and occupied.
Yeah, well, we're already under occupation because we've got the state against us. We've got all our councils are against us because the state is now, and the people employed by the state, it's something like 55%, as opposed to 45% that don't work for the state and that aren't paid by the state. And I'm not even sure whether that includes benefits, which that's like the money that's coming in to the tax, which means we're already a minority. The people of us that earn money and are paying taxes, we're already a minority, and we're fighting against them because it's in their best interest that things stay the way that they are. And then we've got, obviously, on top of that, the newcomers that obviously want everything their way. And they, to be fair to them, they were promised it. They were promised it, and they've had no resistance from the authorities to what they want to do. They've been encouraged because it's us that the government wants to harness. It's us with the freedom that they want to harness. We're the resistance, and we need to start behaving like that. And we need to start understanding that we are occupied and that we have to play the game a damn sight more cleverly than we are doing now.
Victoria, I think Scotty of John sums that one up. He says, Victoria, best caller of the night for me, proper common sense.
Thank you, but
call.
I'm going to go now because I was really nervous phoning in. And
don't be nervous.
Really anxious.
Don't be nervous. Don't be that. I hope you come back again soon. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed that one. All the best. Take care.
No,
we have Dupes up next. Dupes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you for letting me up, Paul.
My pleasure. How are you?
It is my first time up here, and we do have a mutual friend. So I've warmed to you over the recent months because of that mutual friend. Before that, I was highly critical. So, but there are things that we don't agree on, some things, and that is that you see Ben Habib as being the man. I think that Ben Habib's got a lot to offer, says all the right things, but he himself has said he doesn't want to be prime minister, and therefore I think that Rupert is the man. I also think that Rupert has got the X factor and the edge that we actually need. And what I mean by that is that we need somebody that's actually going to come down hardcore, not pounder, not start doing all of the stuff that we've done for years now, where we go, we're not racist, but we're not talking about mixed families, but we're not doing this. But we need somebody who's just prepared to say what is needed to be done and to say it. And we need people to stand up and say it's not ethno-nationalism, right? To say that people that have a heritage here for thousands of years deserve to be treated with a bit of respect by people that are coming to join our community. And I think
that should be a bloody formality, shouldn't it?
Yes,
absolutely.
And the other thing that I'd like to say is that all this, and I'm glad that Richard has apologized, and I know that all of us, myself included, all of us have said things at times where we're passionate and we have a knee-jerk reaction, and then we're like, oh,
don't we just?
Yeah, all of us. And that's being human, and especially
sometimes, can I just say, sometimes we take it on those we love the most, and we often do that within certain groups, or we don't actually mean it. But go on, carry on.
But I also think that we need to be very careful not stooping to lefty tactics, which we've all done as well in the past, right? Because we've all fell into the propaganda machines and attacking each other, and there's great different factions on the right, and we do need to unite. But I think now is too soon.
Possibly. I mean, look, what I would say to you is, and I'm interested in furthering your viewpoints there. Look, I agree with Rupert and Ben. I think that, you know, Rupert would be a more hardline prime minister, may probably garner a little bit more respect from at least the outside, from people like Donald Trump, etc. What I would say is, I think from a personal view, from a personal level, how much that means at prime ministerial level, I don't actually know, Dupes, because I've never been a prime minister, never known one. So I don't know if it's important that Donald Trump would get on better with Ben Habib than he would Rupert Lowe. I don't know that even matters. I think for me, so I agree with you about Ben. I think he probably would make potentially the better of the two prime ministers on an international stage. However, the one thing I really admire about Ben is his ability to be able to cross social barriers, I think, better than Rupert could. And I think, you know, as we saw at the United Kingdom march, you know, he was quite happy to get on stage with that lot and socialise with that lot. And you know, he has, I mean, I don't see Rupert Lowe giving me a ring to stand in for him on Talk TV. But
that's because you're not part of his associated group.
Yeah, I don't think I've got the right accent, to be honest. That's my opinion. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. What do you think?
I disagree. I don't think that accents matter. I think when you're a farmer, you get down dirty and muddy in the field.
Yeah,
and I think that it's a manual job. It's something where you understand doing manual work, and you have labourers and you have people around you. And if you can't run a ship with people from different classes, your farm's not really going to run very well. What I would say is this. Yes, there are more people that are, let me say, silver-tongued, Queen's English, that seem to be in favour of Rupert. But I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing if they understand the working classes, because there are people that back Rupert that for a very long time fought alongside yourself, myself. I do stewarding for Tommy, you know, and all of his supporters and everybody else. And that was Carl Benjamin, you know. And we know that he's not against us. We know that he's for us. He's been championing for a very long time. I think he was even around even before you had come over.
Oh, yeah, he was. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, the fact of the matter is that we've got to stop saying that classism is what's stopping us. Classism is what's stopping us with the major elites. But middle class, working class, actually we're all in the same boat, and that's what they're trying for anyway.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do have a bit of a bee in my bonnet with the working class, because, you know, that's where I started life and I worked my way out of it. But you can never, look, you can work your way out of working class, but you're always going to be working class. So, yeah, that's the bottom line. You're never, you know, you can change your social surroundings, but you can't change what you're made up with, can you? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I listened to Rupert on Dan Wootton's yesterday, and he said that he's not ruling out any mergers, but at the moment he just thinks that people need to go forward in their own lanes as they are, because mergers are difficult, and that there will come a time when that will need to be discussed, right? And so for me, it gives me hope, because I do think that there needs to be a uniting. I think that Ben and Rupert would be massively strong together.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think that, like he says, you know, it's all the finer details of who gets what position. I understand you've got a college. I don't know if he's got a board, you know, and those kind of things that are going to sort of like sway the boat a little bit. And I did want to ask you this, Paul, because you would know this, right? With the college, what is that role of the college actually set up for? Because people have asked me and I don't know intricately. So what exactly is it for?
Okay, in layman's terms, so that, you know, hopefully everyone can get it, because that's the way I asked, you know, what is my role as a member of the college? What is my role? And frankly, the best way to describe it is we're advisors, you know, we're shoulders, we're ears, you know, so, you know, if you know, Ben might ring me and say, Paul, can I get your take on this? And then he'll ring another member of the college, and he'll speak to another member of the college. And basically, it's a consensus of opinion of a group of people.
So it's a focus group.
It's like a focus group. I mean, when we did the immigration policy and the culture policy, that draft came back to me about 10 times. And then it went back off to the group, back to me, back to the group, then back to Ben, then back to the group again. And the document, when it was finalised, I'm thinking, well, I think that's a great document. But then, very cleverly, even then, when Ben went on stage, he said, look, this is our last draft, but it's not the final draft. You know, we may tweak this as we go down the road. And for me, we're a politician, say, look, I've got a document here. We think it's great, but it might not be perfect. We'll adjust it if and when we need to be. So the college is like a focus group. I like to think that, well, obviously they're all trusted. And the other, I can speak for myself when I say this, you know, when I speak to my viewers, when I listen to my viewers, when I look at the chat and the comments, I'm always looking for things to take back to the college and back to the leadership and say, look, I think this is a really good point, or this is how the people are thinking. I honestly look at my role within the college is not to advise Ben, but to be a go-between between you guys and the leadership. And that's what I enjoy. For me personally, other members of the college might be slightly different.
So there's no monitoring of the leader, because I've heard people talk about, oh, the college is there to sort of like keep Ben in check, and
we can remove Ben.
So you could. So
yes.
who monitors the college if you could do that?
Well, the members will monitor. The members will monitor the college as the party progresses. The members will monitor the college, and the college will monitor the leadership. And if the leadership was to, you know, get out of hand, for an example, if I was on the college of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer would have been gone a long time ago. In fact, probably if I was on the college of the Labour Party, I'd have probably chucked myself under a bus by now, to be fair. But there you go. But that's the drift. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm glad you've answered that. Actually, it clears up some of the things that I've been thinking. So let me ask you this. Are you aware of the wave of people that are no longer civic nationalists but are not ethno-nationalists? And actually people are getting angry that they're being put into one position or the other, because there's a mindset now.
Can you repeat that for me? Sorry, just repeat that for me a bit slower so I can get your question in my mind properly. Say that again. Okay.
Are you aware that there's a wave of people on the right that no longer consider themselves civic nationalist or ethno-nationalist, and they're actually getting really annoyed that the way the politics is being played out on the right is as if you've got to be one or the other, when actually we're beginning to see ourselves as patriots? And there's a reason for that, Paul. I'm going to tell you the reason. The reason is that civic nationalism had loopholes in it where people from outside another culture could come in, use DEI policies to go into our governments and get themselves into positions of power. And those loopholes have been used against us. So while we're still not a racist country and we're still a tolerant country, we understand that the civic nationalist position is defunct. At the same time, we're not ethno-nationalists, because we know there are plenty of people in this country that have, like myself, married somebody that is not born British, and you know, have mixed children, etc., etc., and other people that have become citizens of Britain that actually do integrate. So there's this kind of middle road that Connor Tomlinson talks about, and that is why there's been a kind of surge with the interest in Rupert Lowe, because I think Rupert Lowe has got his finger on that, whereas I don't think that Ben Habib has caught up to that
It's
yet.
a really, really good point. It's a really good point. And one of the things is like our tolerance in the past has definitely been used against us. The question that I will come back to on that and is I agree. The only thing that slightly concerns me about is how big a reach. At what point does Rupert's popularity peak, do you think? And where does he have a ceiling? You know, how far to the centre or to the left could Rupert appeal to before he just reaches a ceiling and that's it?
Well, I think he's made it quite clear. I think Connor did when he come on and spoke to you yesterday. From my understanding as an observer, I'm not part of any group talking on anyone's behalf. I'm just somebody that watches the right a lot. So watching Connor yesterday, I think he clearly explained it, that people that have come into this country want to integrate, become our family, become our community. You know, those kind of people, they're not interested in running out. And I think it's been really unfair the way that we've had, and it suits Farage's lot, you know. I think it's been amazing that Alex Phillips, I used to think she was great, you know, she said all the right things and then she exposed herself really badly.
Let herself down, hasn't she?
Yeah, she has, And you know, for them, it's good for them to sort of brand everybody an ethno-nationalist that supports Rupert, but it's really not. I know that there's been vocal ethno-nationalists, if you want to call them that. I'd rather use the M word that nobody else likes to use for people like Steve Laws and the ones right at the extreme. But just because they've come out and vocalised that they would vote for Rupert doesn't mean that that's what Rupert represents, because I don't think that's a fair.
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, no, I mean, like I said earlier on, I've said it a couple of times, you know, and Connor said it very well. You can't choose who supports you. I don't think it's helpful, to be honest, that these people have come out and, you know, been publicly supportive of Rupert, because it will turn. See, the trouble with these live streams, Dupes, right? The trouble with all of the X world, YouTube. We're all politically aware, politically awake. You know, we watch the news, we know what's going on. I think we sometimes forget how little some other. Do you know what? I had a friend of mine. You won't believe this. You will not believe this, right? I had a friend of mine a few weeks back sent me a message, said, "Paul, have you heard of this guy Rupert Lowe coming up on the ranks? Right? Have I heard of him? You know, and that is how unaware a lot of the general public are, and that's my only fear with either of the new parties is how big a task we have in front of us.
Yeah, we have got a big task, but I do think that with Rupert, that people are more aware of him than they let on because of what Farage did to him and how he expelled him from Reform, and people are well aware of Farage and Reform. I think the one good thing that's come out of all of this is because of the way that Farage has reacted and Alex Phillips and his little group, that we now know that those people are definitely left. All the stuff that we suspected, they've come out and they've shown their colours. They're not going to do anything about anything. So that's brilliant, right? I also think that another thing that's good for you, for the Advance Party, is that they think that they can play off Advance against Reform to do their work. I noticed that with the show that they had today on Talk. And so they're going to give you more talking hours, right? Now, that is a good thing for you, Paul, on one hand, but it also could be a death knell on the other. And I think that that's going to be a really hard position for you and Ben Habib to play, because I do sincerely think that deep down, Ben, Rupert, the people that follow Advance, the people that follow Restore, actually they could amalgamate nicely because they're much closer with each other's politics than people are letting on. I think the difference is that Rupert is more straightforward in what he wants to do. And he's saying, I'm not apologising for it. We need to do it. We need to go ahead and do it. And we need to do it as fast as we can. We know it's going to take a while and we know it's going to be painful and there's going to be some painful decisions. And that's the truth of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Look, I love Rupert's hardline approach. The only thing that concerns me is will enough people in the country be brave enough? Because that's what it boils down to. Will they find the cojones to be able to get behind Rupert? I think Ben is possibly more likable as an individual. I don't know. You don't look. This is personal stuff, isn't it? I mean, if you was to put them in front of the nation on, I don't know, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. Who would they vote out first, Rupert or Ben? I reckon I'll put my money on Rupert going first, personally. But you know, who knows? Who knows? But look, I agree with pretty much everything you
I
said
think that's
there.
why we need the amalgamation, because you believe that it would be Ben. I believe that you believe it would be Rupert out first. I believe it would be Ben. And I think it's because out of the two of them, even though Ben says all the right things, and I believe that he does genuinely believe a lot of what he says, he doesn't have that hard edge X factor.
The conviction. You're saying he's missing the conviction, you think, that Rupert portrays. That's it's a good point. And I'll tell you one thing, you know what? You may be right, because at the end of the day, as Ben said himself and has always admitted, that he set up Advance UK with Rupert in mind as the leader and Ben as either the chairman or as second in command.
Yeah.
So, maybe you're actually only saying what Ben himself thinks. So you may not be far out. Listen, great talking to you. I'm going to move on. I've got one more guest before I'm going to wind this up. Thank you so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Great call. Paula, you are up next. You're the last one on this evening. Sorry for the wait.
Hello.
Hey, Paula, how you doing?
I'm a bit tired now.
I'm sorry.
And I'm not sure what to say, as a lot of people have gone over quite a few of the things that I was thinking about talking about.
They've stolen your thunder, Paula, have they?
What was that?
They've stolen your thunder.
Yeah. But I think one of the main things that I wanted to say was that it was like when you spoke on Talk TV earlier, that you laid out the idea of the college, and I just think in this world at the moment, the absolute lack of democracy, it should be reiterated over and over again that we've got one of the most democratic structures in place of any party. And I just think that's something that we can really go with. And, and it might even give the incentive to other people to have that structure in other political parties.
Yeah. I mean, look, it is a little. It's not a major, but it is a bit of a concern for me that a Restore might not ultimately be quite as democratic as Advance, and I think, like you say, democracy is missing. But look, at the end of the day, to be honest with you, the situation we're in, Paula, I've got to the stage now where all I'm really interested in is winning, because we need to get together.
Yeah.
We need to win. We haven't got another 10 years to sort this out. We haven't got because in 15 years' time, it may even be that we won't be able to vote, because there'll be people in charge running our councils, running our government, running our courts that,
I think that's why I feel that it is something we should promote, whether we end up amalgamating and maybe but I just think it's something we should emphasize, because everyone feels like they're losing their voices. The people we haven't been listened to for a long time.
No, so you're a fan of the college?
Yeah, I really am.
It's been the biggest, I think it's the biggest bone of contention for Advance members, that they are very much supporters of the college, and calls like yours only reiterate that.
Yeah, well, I just think it's something that you know, like you said yourself, if Labour had had a college, Starmer would have been well gone.
Yeah, he would have been gone a long time
And,
ago.
you know, if you think about the creeping sort of authoritarianism around the world, and there's sort of, you know, there's all kinds of countries in conflict. There's these supranational organisations that are not democratic, that are trying to dictate to us. There's the billionaire class that, you know, want to dictate to us. So a good injection of democracy is definitely needed.
I'll tell you what, your girls are doing well tonight. Someone's just left a message saying that the girl callers are on fire tonight.
Oh.
So well done, Paula. Thank you so much. I hope I've kept you up too late.
Oh, thank you, Paul. Appreciate coming on. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you. I hope it wasn't too bad for you. Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Good night. We've got one last caller coming up in a moment. That is Graham. Graham, just hang on in there, my friend. Let's have a little look at some of the supers because they are piling up a little bit. Debbie, great chat with Connor, cleared some things up. Ish, brilliant interview, brilliant advocate for advance. Thank you. Stop animal cruelty, one of that lot and proud of it. Reform can sod off. I wonder if Ian Collins has found that clip yet. Angia, thank you for that. And June has been a member for 18 months. Thank you, June. Jackie Lee. Getting Ben and Rupert together is like waiting for Oasis reunion, but obviously more important. I hope the tickets are easier to get and not as expensive. Thank you, June. Really appreciate that. Good boy, Alex Phillips is Farage's new Lolita. Debbie again, I hope Rupert endorses Nick Buckley. I think he should. Good boy. I pray for a time machine so I could press rewind back to the 21st of March, 1965. Oh, to be born again for the grooviest 4 decades ever. Willie King at 50, yeah. Not a bad time to be alive, was it? Shay, what say the college is subverted deliberately to out the leader with the plan and college members like you, Paul, get outvoted? Well, look, at the end of the day, democracy is democracy. There is something in place to actually prevent those sort of shenanigans, but I'd have to check it up before opening my mouth in case I get it wrong. Michael Ellis, I've always said that the monarchy would implode once Elizabeth died. Sussex Girls, and remember, thank you for that. Granite, Andrew, always been a prat. Chickens come to roost. Yes, I think you may be right there. That interview with Emily Maitlis was atrocious, wasn't it? 09 Galley. It would be great if Ben was on the green benches and Rupert on the red, the two best parties in Britain. God, imagine that. Imagine if Ben and Rupert were actually the opposition. We'd be in a better place, wouldn't we? Granite, UK and Canada better wake up or be China governed. That is the last, no, not quite the last, cyber storm. I hope Connor mentions you to Rupert and that he comes on for a chat. I think he would like and get on with you really well. It happens. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. Been in contact with Rupert a number of times, but to no joy. Our last call of Graham has actually dived out, so that will be it for this evening. Thank you so much for all of your contributions tonight. We've got one last super. Tish Green, thank you. Richie and Rogue said college not working, college not listened to, Thompson being high-handed, it's worrying. We all want Ben to have a big say. If Ben has been given airtime, situation will be so different. I think, to be fair, everyone's entitled to their opinions, and look, I've got a lot of time for Richie. I don't really know Rogue too well. I've been on the podcast with her. She seems, fine. What I would say is I think in some instances we need a bit more patience. A lot of people want a lot of things and they want them very quickly. And I think that, some patience is required so that we can get this right. You only get one chance at a first opinion, right? And this is the nation's first opinion on Advance UK, if you like. So we have to be very careful. We have to get it right. And I do trust in Ben. Right, guys, thank you so much for all the comments tonight. Some great callers, some great chat. Really enjoyed it, as always. Thank you so much for joining me. And we will see each other, hopefully, soon.